Al Diamond, go.
Yeah, so I have a story about Al, which this food reminded me of. Al always used to claim that the only food worth eating was raw food from plants or even raw animals.
Right, vegetables and fruit.
But something so raw, like an animal would catch it. You know, an animal out in the jungle doesn't eat something that's 3 weeks old. They go out and catch some food to eat it.
Fresh,
Still very
was
fresh.
what's alive.
Yeah.
Right.
Where the cells in it are still alive. So he had this whole thing, which I consider quite religious. But
Wait, so you said fruits,
or
vegetables, or
raw
meat that's just been. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Continue.
And fruits and vegetables should be picked directly off the tree.
Right.
So that they're still alive.
We picked.
Yeah.
He picked some figs right on Hollywood
He did that all
Boulevard.
the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, but he had this very weird, I claim it was religious feeling that eating food that wasn't raw and still alive was a complete waste of the nutrients. It was the living energy that somehow was actually what you got out of the food. So.
Wow, that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
It's definitely like if you cook a carrot,
Right.
it loses its nutrients.
Yeah, no, but,
right?
he wasn't even talking about that. He was saying that the cells, the carrot should be so freshly picked that the cells are still alive.
Right.
Okay, so I pointed out that, let's say, teenagers who just eat McDonald's all the time, they can be quite healthy, they can do sports, they can do all kinds of things, even though they're not eating any live animals, any live cells like that.
Right.
So how would he explain that? And he explained it 2 different ways. First of all, that it's like a movie set. Notice that the teenage body looks strong and healthy, but it's really a fake movie set, and inside it's all deteriorated.
Great fucking analogy. Yeah.
It's not true though.
No, it's
anyway.
I like.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, what's the other?
Yeah. And then his other theory was maybe occasionally in the McDonald's burger or whatever, and the fries, somewhere in there's one or two cells that haven't died yet, that somehow escaped the heat and are still living, and those 2 or 3 are enough.
Is the only thing that's holding up the fake movie prop, right?
And those are enough. Those occasional ones like that. So I once went to a restaurant, and we went to a restaurant. And I started filming, pretending that I had visited the restaurant, just ran across him sitting at the table. And I showed him all the food. He had like all his cooked food in front of him. And I asked him to point out which cells were still alive. I brought with me as a prop a fake little toy microscope.
You filmed this too? Oh, you gotta find this, dude.
You probably have it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I brought along as a prop.
Wait, just to recap, because your speech wasn't. I didn't really catch the beginning of that. So again, what he laid out a bunch of food.
Okay, he was sitting in we went to a restaurant.
Where? L.A. San Francisco.
LA, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go.
Which one I don't know. So I started filming, pretending that I had just stumbled across him in a restaurant and I asked him, "Sir, look, you have all this cooked stuff in front of you."
Like you were strangers?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Exactly.
Right.
You have all this stuff in front of you that is not living. It all looks dead to me. And he said, "No, but some of the cells are living." So I handed him a prop with this little toy microscope. And I have a video of him looking around at all the food with a microscope, saying, "Oh, there's one. There's a living one right there. There's another one right there." So
was it? I mean, obviously, the image is, pictures worth 1,000 words,
Right. So anyway, I claim that you probably have that in the Al videos I sent you somewhere. You look for everyone. Otherwise, I'll never find it if you can't find it.
And then just to recap, it's in my doc a little bit, but talk to me about ice milk and steaks.
Oh, well,
like what was this? We'll get to the ice cream second, but the steaks and charcoal, that whole phenomenon.
Okay. Some of Al's food habits, and he was totally willing to admit this. A lot of it had nothing to do with health.
Was totally willing or not willing?
No, he was totally willing to admit that a lot of his food habits had nothing to do with health. They were just things that he liked. So, for example, he was quite willing to admit that charcoal broiling meat is not the safest way to cook meat.
Right.
And you should really eat raw meat anyway. But he just loved charcoal broilers, and he would always seek out charcoal broiler restaurants because of the flavor of it.
But as I recall, he did not want it to be
fried.
No, powered by gas.
Yes, yeah, he meant real.
You want a barbecue.
But again, that was strictly for flavor, and he admitted that the real barbecue had chemicals in it that are known to cause cancer and
Of
stuff.
course. Right.
But he didn't care.
He didn't care. He wanted the one.
Right.
Now, could he tell if it was gas powered or?
He claimed he could.
Do you believe him?
I don't know, because he got into fights in the restaurants. Restaurants that claim to be charcoal broiled.
Of course, they're going to say, "Oh, it's a barbecue back there," and you know.
No, but sometimes sometimes the barbecue was out in the open where you could see it.
Yeah.
And he'd argue with them, and they would show him the barbecue.
They would show him the coals.
And yes, and he would continue to argue, and he knows it just doesn't taste like charcoal. Yeah. So, no, but same thing with ice cream. He admitted that ice cream was strictly for flavor. It wasn't particularly good for you. And he liked really rich ice cream with a high butterfat content. And again, he would admit that that's not good for you, but he just liked the flavor.
I remember we used to go out to Carvel and stuff,
yeah.
you know, after, you know.
In Los Angeles, the Carvels were very rare. Yeah, there was one near here for a while, but they're mainly a New York chain.
Maybe it was a different, I don't know, it was long.
There was a Carvel for a while.
I think we used to hit one out there somewhere,
there was
you
one
know.
for a while,
Yeah.
And then,
They have Dairy Queen? Did we, maybe, I don't know.
he didn't like their.
He didn't like that.
No, see, Carvel makes real their soft serve ice cream is real ice cream. It just hasn't been frozen yet.
Ah.
Whereas Dairy Queen, all those are just.
It's all frozen, it comes in and, right, they just put it in a machine. Right.
Yeah.
Was he allergic to cigarettes? Like would he, were to the point where he could get, if he got too much smoke, did anything ever happen?
He claimed it. He claimed it. I was with him once where there were people smoking all around, and he complained and was predicting he would get sick, but he never did. So
Right.
I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about that.
Were there any map workers that used to like abuse that little kind of like light a car up, light up in the car or anything?
He'd fire them instantly if they did anything like that.
Right.
So he didn't. If map workers smoked, he'd make them stay outside the car for long enough to clear their lungs completely before he even let them in the car.
He didn't want to smell it in the fingers, any of that shit. Right.
Yeah.
Did he give a warning, like if he saw a kid smoking, like?
I think he would.
Did he like people smoking on the corner while they're working?
No, he didn't
No.
like the image of that either.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you know that David Arquette, from the Arquette family, Richmond Arquette, worked for Al for 3 years. His younger brother worked for like a week, and a guy pulled up in the car, jerking off, and he.
Al told me those stories. I don't think I even knew those particular kids, but Al always told me that story. Yes.
Well,
that wasn't the only time. He mentioned that several times.
Give me another, anything.
No, I'm just saying. I don't know. Details,
It happened,
just saying Al
right? It happened to me one time, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, It didn't. I mean, of course, it bothered me, but
Yeah.
the guy was gone, and then I mean, what am I going to do? It's my job. I got to make money. So I'd seen much horrific things than some guy's little wiener in it. Not something you want to see when you're 11 years old. You know what I mean?
I know.
So anyway, Richmond and David Arquette's father.
Aren't they famous now?
Yeah, the whole family is. Yeah.
Okay.
So I sent a package out to Richmond to his agent with everything in it. No response.
Oh, really?
And he worked for Al for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I sent him pictures that he probably didn't even
Do you
have.
think he personally got it, or his agent just thought this was some crazy guy?
What was it saying? Troy Carpenter changed.
I don't know. This is a Facebook update.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. What?
No. Are you sure he actually got it himself? It's probably just some agent or secretary probably threw it away.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not positive that. Yeah, he's kind of big, so some people might be like, yeah. There's always an assistant in between, these big people.
Yeah.
Because I was really surprised that, because I called back up the agent and said, "Did you get it?" "Yes, he got it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, that's strange. Like, how about just an email? I'm busy, guy. Thank you."
Right.
I'm not expecting him to send $100,000 and to do the maps to the Star Zones movie.
I know.
But anyway, so David Arquette, and this is just kind of what I remember from Al telling me, is that David Arquette was on the job for a week, and he was the younger brother.
Okay.
And a guy pulled up in the car,
Yeah.
yanking it,
I don't
and
know
the father came down and pulled David right off the corner,
Right.
and then went to Richmond's corner, and Richmond was a little older and had already been doing it for like a year,
Right.
and said, "Dad,
Yeah.
that's happened to me before. I'm not going anywhere. This is my job."
Yeah.
So he just left with David and left him there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's a good point you brought up. Maybe you never even saw the fucking stuff.
Yeah, that's
you know?
fair.